At a high level, this was very confident and competent speech.
Well, I think the mayor came in swinging for the fences.
He focused a lot on the economy and housing.
But convince me that it's going to be okay. Convince me that these taxes were well spent.
Hello, London. I'm Matt Brown, and you're listening to the Matt Brown Podcast. It's another good show for you today because today we're trying something new. It's our first ever podcast-only political panel, and the panelists are London leaders whose names you are sure to recognize. They're going to join us to provide some analysis of last week's State of the City address. And I'll tell you all about it right after this.
Winter's here. It's time to discover the Bicycle Cafe. Cozy up with our daily soup and sandwich, or unwind with an evening latte and Dutch comfort food. London Bicycle Cafe at the Forks of the Thames. See you soon.
The State of the City address has a long history here in London. It's been said to be the largest of its kind right across Canada. It's a London Chamber of Commerce event, and it regularly sells out, with attendance coming in around 1,200 tickets sold. Businesses, for-profit and not-for-profit, purchase tables, and so do many of the city-funded boards, commissions, as well as the corporation of the City of London itself. The mayor's office works for months and months on the presentation. Different mayors have used different approaches to highlight different things, but you can always count on hearing about issues of the day, both the challenges and the opportunities being experienced or anticipated ahead. You'll likely hear about council successes, promises and plans, maybe a big idea or two, and if at all possible, news about new jobs coming to London. The event provides a great opportunity to highlight the work underway. And here's a fun fact. It's also a huge fundraising event for the host, the London Chamber of Commerce. For any mayor, these addresses can be a high-risk, high-reward opportunity, especially so during an election year. It can even be seen by some as the unofficial kickoff to the campaign season 2. Today, we're lucky to have 4 folks who have seen more than their share of these State of the City addresses. Joining us for the first ever political panel are Mojdeh Azad, formerly Mojdeh Cox. She is the founder and consultant at Cox & Co. With Mojdeh's name change, she tells us that you can look forward for a new brand reveal of her new consulting company soon. Mojdeh is also a long-standing activist and prominent voice on equity here in London and right across Canada. Also joining is Steve Cordes, recently retired and longtime CEO of Youth Opportunities Unlimited. He's now the host of a video blog you can find on YouTube called Community Matters. Carol Dyck is with us too. Carol is a doctoral student in the Faculty of Law at Western University. Carol is also a previous 5-time Green Party of Ontario and Green Party of Canada candidate for London North. Finally, Paul Hubert joins us too. Paul is the Executive Director of Pathways and a former member of London City Council. He served 3 terms on council as the councillor for Ward 8, including his final term as Deputy Mayor from 2014 to 2018. Paul is also the lead consultant for a firm he started called Delta Consultings. The panelists have all watched the speech at least a couple of times, and likely they've read the transcript too. Today, they're prepared to share their thoughts about some of the key issues highlighted within the speech. They'll provide some analysis and maybe even make a prediction or two about the weeks and months to come. So, with that, let's go. Mojdeh, Steve, Carol, Paul, welcome to the podcast. I'm thrilled that all 4 of you were able to make this show. It's an inaugural event. It's the first political panel, hopefully of many, and we'll see as we work our way through the topics. I've mentioned just off the top that we're talking about the 2026 Chamber of Commerce State of the City address, and I thought we'd just get going right from there. So first up, just overall impressions of the address. It was a different delivery style. What did you think of the format? Did you have any aha moments or strong feelings or opinions overall? Mojdeh, why don't we start with you?
Thanks for the question. I mean, it was definitely what I heard was that it was the largest turnout. This was the first year in many that I've missed this in person when we had it in person. At a high level, this was very confident and a competent speech. And from the perspective of a first term mayor positioning for re-election, I think that really matters. The mayor clearly wanted to demonstrate that the city is being governed with discipline, that decisions are grounded in data, and that London is moving forward rather than standing still. And so that, I think, was a message that came out pretty clear. On that front, the speech does what it was set out to do. But when you step back and hold this address up against the city's own strategic plan, and in my world of consulting, I tend to do this as an immediate reflex response to almost anything that I listen to and hear, and as it relates to things that impact the lives of Londoners. There's a noticeable gap, and particularly around safety for women, girls, and gender diverse people. And this is just one prong that I think was most prominent for me. That priority is explicitly named in the plan, yet it's absent from the speech. And that silence is hard to ignore in a city that has experienced public and very recent public incidences of violence against women, a high profile sexual assault trial, and the broader reality that femicide is being recognized across Ontario as a systemic crisis. My comments aren't necessarily around raising this as a symbolic gesture. It's about whose safety gets named and measured when we talk about public safety, but don't explicitly acknowledge gender-based violence. We end up reinforcing a very narrow definition of harm. Most violence against women doesn't happen on the street. It happens behind closed doors. And if leadership doesn't name it, it's harder to mobilize. And for the great agencies doing this, it's harder to publicly address it as well. And so politically, this speech strengthens the mayor's case as a steady, competent leader, but it also reveals a missed opportunity to show a moral clarity on an issue that is steeped in our strategic plan and deeply affects people's lives and sense of safety in this city.
Okay, well, I think we're off to a good start. Thanks, Mojdeh. And Steve, let's go to you next. Just overall first impressions.
I like the Mayor Unplugged version, i.e., a lot less bells and whistles and more simple, just talking at the crowd. I like that. I think he went a bit too far that way. It would have been nice to have some visuals to support what he was saying, because I had the benefit of listening to the tape that you sent us, the recording of it, a few times, and it was on the second or third time I listened to it, I picked up stuff the first time I didn't pick up at all. So I'm thinking if you're one of the 1,200 people, there would have been some really important messages that would not have hit home from what the mayor was saying. I think not to be critical of the mayor, he's a great speaker, but he missed an opportunity, I think, the mayor did, to recognize the full council that also is at work around the city's successes and failures, as well as the senior administration at the City of London. And I think that it would be really, really important as the leader of council in a way to have brought recognition, not just to the other regional mayors that were in that crowd, not just to the business leaders, but to some of his internal audiences. Aha moment. I think when we talk about issues like homelessness, for a lot of people, that seems like an insurmountable issue, and it's growing, when in fact so is public investments in the problem growing with the issue. I like the visual that he did bring by getting people to stand up half the room. And to me, that was one of the takeaways. I didn't have to be reminded he did that because it engaged the audience.
And Steve, if you could just describe that for folks listening at home, what that moment was like.
Right. Well, of the 1,200 people in the room, he took a pause to talk about the city's investments in homelessness prevention. He talked about the fact that homelessness is growing. Then he talked about how London in the province and how London is performing better than many other communities in the province. And then he asked half the room to stand up. And those 600 or so people represented the number of people that through the city's investments, through its nonprofit partners and its own staff work, 600 people, so representing half that room, were helped out of homelessness as a result of the investments that the city made. And I thought that was a powerful moment because for especially that crowd, many of the business leaders that would be aware of the issue, how it affects them, how it affects them in their neighborhood, and so on, that it gives a visual and a feeling. Looking around the room, these people symbolically could have been facing homelessness and they weren't because of the important investments that the city made. And then he talked the cumulative efforts that went in the years before that as well. So that was a good aha moment because it's an important issue and it's hard to, if you're not in the field, if you're not facing it day to day, but you just see signs of it, it's hard to really put a humanity onto that because you see signs of it, but you don't experience the humanity in that way. And I thought he did a good job of that.
Yeah, fair enough. Thanks, Steve. I think a great start. We're going to dig down a little bit deeper into the homelessness crisis, I'm sure, during our discussion. Carol, how about you?
Yeah, so for this one, it seemed to me like because I've watched the other ones, some in person, some not. This one really came off as sort of a start to kick off the election year. It was just like Steve said, it was not so much acknowledging the city council. I mean, it was the city as a whole, but his role as a mayor and the successes that he had. And so I think for that reason, he focused a lot on the economy and housing, those kinds of issues that are, of course, top of mind, but would be also the things that he would hope would get him reelected. So he came in as a mayor that seemed a lot more confident, certainly than his 2023 speech, which was a great speech, but he started off by getting booed because of the mention of property taxes. I think that would rattle anyone. So for me, it really seemed like, okay, this is what I have accomplished for the next 4 years without explicitly saying, and I hope you'll have confidence in me for the next years coming. For aha moments, I think we'll be getting into some of the issues later. For me, it was more about what wasn't mentioned, much like Mojdeh said, like the things that were not included, and very much how much of the speech was focused on these development and economic issues without really acknowledging some of the social issues that are in the city. So I'm looking forward to talking about those issues as we dive a little bit deeper.
Okay, thanks, Carol. And Paul, you're running anchor on this one.
Yeah.
First impressions.
Well, I think the mayor came in swinging for the fences. He really wanted to hit the ball out of the park. And this, I agree 100% with Carol. This was his election launch speech. I think he was also reacting to a January 18th London Free Press article that said experience, not successes, will give mayors re-election at the edge. And I think that you and I know uh, our mayor quite well, and he would be quite sensitive to that point. And so I think he chucked a lot out and rewrote it and really focused on accountability, which I think is really smart. You've got 1,200 of the sort of business leaders, if you will, in the room, and you want them to know that you're not talk, your action and your accomplishments and all of those sorts of things. We can dig into the numbers a little later because was a book written years ago about how to lie with numbers, and particularly criminology statistics are you can cherry pick and find positives in the multitude of stats that are available. But I think he delivered well. It's really interesting when he's behind the platform, he's as stiff as a board. When he's not behind the podium, he's a little bit more relaxed. And then he went right back to the podium at the very end. And I don't know if you all noticed it, he was stiff again. I think when he's more relaxed, he's more winsome. But all in all, you've got to give it, at least an A minus on the delivery and overall content. I know Carol. I'll get points from Carol on this one. I don't think the environment was a word in there. Mojdeh has mentioned, diversity and violence against women. When you write these things, it's hard to hit everything, but I think there's some ways in which that could have been worked in terms of what we're about. The other thing that wasn't mentioned was a real sense of who we are. And this is an issue for London as a city, is we struggle. We're not Toronto, we're not Windsor. So who are we as a municipality? And I'm always looking for a vision for, Mojdeh, we start with strategic planning. We start, who are you and where do you want to go, right? And that didn't come across so much.